Hello and welcome back to Own Guard Solutions. Today I thought I would show you how to take down and clean a 12 gauge pump shotgun. And specifically, I've gotten this Mossberg M590A1, and the 500 series in general, I think it's safe to say, is one of Mossberg's most popular lines of shotguns. I looked last night knowing that I was going to try to do this video today, and not including a couple of 20 gauges and even a 410, they have approximately 12 different models of the 590 alone. And this is the M590A1 specifically. And so before we get started, I've already got the 4N back, but I just want to look down the chamber. Nothing's in the tube, in the magazine, so, and safety is on. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do, I've already taken the sling off of this one. The first thing I'm going to do is unscrew the magazine cap. Sometimes this is just the breakdown screw. So I'm just going to unscrew this few times, maybe. There we go. Set that aside. And now that that is off, I should relatively easily be able to remove the barrel. And yes, I can. And the barrel comes right off of there. Next thing we're going to do is punch out the pin from the right to the left side to get the trigger housing, the trigger group out, just to kind of set up directionally. When we talk about to the rear of the rifle, or any rifle for that matter, we're talking about towards the stock aft or rear, the stock. And if we're looking down towards the muzzle, that's the front. So the side here that has the ejection port on it is the right. And obviously the opposite of that is the left. So just to set that up here before we deep dive, I'm going to go ahead and bring the camera around so we can kind of see more closely what's going on. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back. I wanted to bring the camera just so you can kind of see over my workspace what it is I'm doing. So we've taken off the magazine cap, or the takedown screw. We've removed the barrel from the receiver, and next what we're going to do is punch this pin out here to be able to then pull out and remove the trigger group. And it doesn't take much. I'm actually just going to be using my trusty bamboo chopstick for this, and I'm pushing again from the right side of the firearm through to the left, and we'll do the opposite when we put it back in. It's just a good habit to get into. These don't take much, as you see, to knock out. So it comes out the other side here. Put that aside, definitely don't want to lose it. And then to get the trigger housing out, all I'm going to do is simply pull this downward and to the rear. And you can see it comes right out, kind of dirty, so good timing to clean that. Put that aside. And then next what we're going to do, and it's kind of already fallen out for us because we're laying it on the left-hand side, is this is the cartridge interceptor. And typically this little tab right here fits right up in that notch. So it was easy taken out. It went ahead and fell out for us. It saved us the trouble. So that's the cartridge interceptor. And then on the left side of the firearm, hopefully you can see down here, that's the cartridge stop. And we're just going to lift it out, or try to lift it out of here as well. Take that out, set that to the side. And then what we're going to do is we need to kind of get the bolt carrier wherever it is, and I'll let it set back down in there. You may have to move the fore end or back or forward some, but you can see this relief, these notches here cut out of the receiver. We just need to make sure that the bolt carrier is lined up so that we can easily lift that out of there. And this stuff's pretty dusty and dirty, so it's a good thing we're cleaning this. And then You can see the bolt, hopefully you can see the bolt clearly down in there. What I'm going to do is push it forward, and it should, assuming I keep it lined up, it should come right out where the barrel was originally. So that is indeed the bolt, and it is pretty dirty. This bumping the camera already. This particular shotgun is kept in the ready position, which means the chamber is usually open. So it's a good thing to get in the habit of cleaning this regularly if you are going to keep a shotgun like that, just because of the dust. All the dust bunnies can get down in there. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and slide the fore end forward towards the muzzle end where the muzzle would be. And along with that comes the action bars. It's attached to the fore end. So we'll go ahead and take that off, put that aside. And then the last thing we should have to take out of here is the elevator. And this is what obviously allows the shells to come out of the magazine and then get pushed up to align with the chamber and the barrel. So we're just going to pull this up, and then all we're going to do is simply squeeze on this. You can see that the ends, hopefully you can see down in there, that the ends are in holes. The arms themselves, if you will, are in holes. So we're just going to take this and squeeze in so they come right out, and you can see those tabs on both sides fit in these holes on either side of the firearm. And with that, we have gotten this thing torn down. There is a screw to remove the extractors, and you can take the magazine off the receiver if you so choose. We are not going to be doing that today, but there are a couple of other smaller steps to take this thing further down, but we're not going to get into that. So stay tuned and we'll start scrubbing up this thing. Okay, so we're back. So I have made the executive decision that before I start spraying everything down to let it soak, I thought that real quick I would go ahead and set some of this other stuff aside. Lots of shotgun pieces parts out here. I thought we'd go ahead and clean this nasty barrel. Just go ahead and punch it out first before I spray everything and let it soak and start to scrub it down. If you've watched our video on how to field strip and clean an AK-47, you know that, or any of these videos, you know that I personally love bore snakes. And if you watched our video specifically on how to clean an arsenal, how to field strip and clean an arsenal AK-47, you know that these bore snakes for 12 gauges and even a 20 gauge are fantastic for running through your gas tube on your AK-47. So that's just a sidebar note. For cleaning for punching the barrel, for cleaning the inside of the barrel, I'm actually going to be using my trusty Frog Lube, liquid Frog Lube. Not saying that this is the best thing on the market, not saying it's better than some others. I just like the liquid Frog Lube for cleaning out my barrels. I know that it does a great job cleaning after running, especially a bore snake, through just a handful of times. And I like the way it coats the barrel afterwards. It's not greasy, it's not super oily. I just think it does a really good job in both the cleaning aspects and the protection aspects. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this here on either side of my bristles on my bore snake. And it drips everywhere. That's okay. We'll use it, clean it right off. That stuff certainly isn't going to hurt anything. And I'm just going to feed it through the chamber end of the barrel. Again, I just kind of want to be in the habit of going through from the chamber side. And I got to get enough here threaded through to have it come out. So I can actually grab it and pull it through. Oh, here it is. And so, yeah, I'm just going to pull this through. Yeah, we've talked about the importance of generally trying to work from the chamber end of our barrels through to the muzzle, just to avoid damaging the crown. And of course, you know, the crown is not as critical probably on a shotgun as it is on a rifle. But, you know, if you're shooting a rifle-barreled shotgun or slugs, you know, that might not be a true statement. So anyway, just getting a good practice to work in from the chamber end. And I'm just going to do this a couple times before we cut away so I can finish it up, and then we'll come back and continue on. So stay tuned. All right. Now that we've taken the bore snake with our frog lube, our liquid frog lube, we've punched the bore multiple times, and suffice it to say, it's a lot cleaner. So I'm going to set that aside, set my bore snake out of the way. Probably won't be needing that again. And so what I'm moving on to do next is I want to take my solvent, which that is not, just putting the lid on so I don't spill it everywhere. What I want to do is take my solvent, and today we're using the Slip 2000 725 gun cleaner. And when it's this grimy, which this stuff seems to be pretty grimy today, I want to, and this is really the case anytime I've got an extra dirty firearm and got a lot of carbon, gunpowder, whatnot caked up on it. Any solvent that I use, I want to spray it on liberally, and that I want it to sit. So I'm just going to start spraying some of these parts, getting them wet here. Bolt carrier, my cartridge interceptor, my cartridge stop, my elevator, even it needs a good bath. Obviously not as dirty as some of the parts. My bolt certainly needs it. And I don't want to douse the front of the bolt where the firing pin is, but I want to get everything soaked down good enough that I know that if I leave it on there for a bit, it's going to be enough to break down all the grime, the grease, the leftover cleaner from the last time, the dust, excuse me, and everything in between. I want to spray down inside the receiver here especially. And so what I'm going to do, and we'll go away while this happens, obviously we're not going to sit here and watch this stuff dry, but what we're going to do is let this solvent sit and have enough time to break things down. Then we'll probably spray it down again, and I'm going to use my good trusty handy nylon bristled brush to really scrub it down. Then we'll wipe it down, and when we come back, we'll be ready to get some protected on. So stick around. Okay, so we've sprayed on our solvent. I've let it sit for a little bit. It's had time to do a bit of work. And so what I'm going to do now, because this stuff is quite a bit dirty, is I'm going to go ahead and spray it a little bit more. And then, like I mentioned before, I'm just going to take my nylon brush and begin scrubbing it up. I'm going to get it everywhere. If it gets dry on me, get the hammer. If it gets dry on me, I can always add more, but I just want to start scrubbing all the gunk off now. Like I said, anytime I'm using solvent, which should be every time I'm giving a firearm a good cleaning, I generally want to let it sit. Sometimes longer than others. This firearm is pretty dirty, so I let it sit for a number of minutes before I wanted to scrub it like I am now. But nonetheless, I don't necessarily want the solvent, whatever solvent that is I'm using, to dry out completely as I let it sit. If it's super dirty, I may need to hit it again with the solvent and let it sit for a while longer. But at the point that I'm ready to scrub, spray a little bit more on, like you saw me just do, and then I can begin my scrubbing process. So I'm not going to sit here and make you watch the laborious task of me scrubbing every piece, but that's what we're going to do now, and we'll be back in just a few. Okay, I wanted to come back for just a second. I've been working to, you saw that we had everything sprayed down with solvent, and I've been working to scrub it up with my brush. Coming right along with everything. It's looking much, much better. But I wanted to stop because I lied earlier. I told you that I wasn't going to take the extractor out. But as I was wiping out the inside of the receiver, I decided that because of the amount of solvent that I got down in there and whatnot, and just for good practice, that I would take the extractor out. And so I'm hoping that you can see this if I don't hit the camera again for the billionth time in doing these videos. I'm going to use my little fancy pants. So you can see that screw right there. It barely is deep enough to go through to the outside of the receiver, but that flathead screw is what we need to remove to get the extractor out. The extractor is right, and hopefully I can point this down in there, right there where my finger is on top of. And so we're going to go ahead and take it out and make sure everything behind it is wiped out and dried out nicely. So I got my trusty screwdriver, and hopefully without a lot of effort I can get that thing to back out, and yeah, it's going to do it without issue. So I want to be very careful not to misplace that. And you can see it's just a very shallow screw, flathead, no big deal. And so now that I've gotten that out, I should be able to pull my extractor right out of there. And there it is. And so yeah, it was a good thing because it's got some stuff on the back of it. And that's the thing. When you clean your weapons, and hopefully you're cleaning them somewhat regularly, you don't have to break everything completely down every time you clean. But once in a while, it doesn't hurt to at least break down a little bit further than what you normally would, because ultimately something's going to get dirty, and this was a good time to do that. So I just wanted to show you that. And the other thing I want to talk about real quick, this comes up, is as I'm cleaning the trigger group here, I wanted to get in behind the hammer here. And so in order to do that, all I want to do, because this is all under a lot of spring tension, is I want to put my thumb over the top of it, and then I'm simply just going to squeeze the trigger here and let that hammer come forward. And what that does is that exposes even more surfaces for me to have to clean, but that's not a bad thing. The reason why I wanted to show you this is just in case you wanted to know how to release the trigger without busting your knuckles, because that thing will come forward with a lot of force. I wanted to remind you that when you go to reassemble the firearm, you need to make sure that trigger is back down in the down position again. Otherwise, you're going to have probably a pretty hard time getting it to get back into the receiver. So just wanted to point that out. We're going to get back to scrubbing, and next we'll be wiping everything down and putting some lube on some high wear places. Okay, we're back, and we've been busy with some of our gun lube and CLP here. The Slip 2000, like we may or may not have mentioned, is indeed considered an SLP. A CLP, sorry, I got slip on my mind, is a CLP. But anyway, we've wiped everything down good with it to get a good protective coating on all the metal surfaces, and we've lubed everything in all the points we pointed out to you prior. Although I did miss one thing, and I just want to show you because I did go in and do it. But down inside the receiver, you'll see these two ledges. Hopefully you can, these two ridges, I guess, if you will, and you can see that they're worn. You can see the bare metal on them, and you can see some bare metal down in the roof of our receiver too, which is perfectly normal for most firearms like this. But what I did is I got some lubricant on my fingertip, and what I did is I just scraped it off on those ledges to get some lubrication there, because that's where the bolt carrier and all those rods and whatnot operate in. So you want to be sure and get that. And again, if you're looking for bare metal, that's definitely bare metal, so just get you something there. The first thing we've got to do is get our extractor mounted back in again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in through the ejection port here and hopefully get it in place correctly. Looks like I did. This is going to be hard to do with the camera, so bear with me. Maybe make myself a little bit of room here, but I got to get this little tiny screw back into place there. So I'm going to do this carefully as I can. Sometimes I like to go left first before trying to start. I don't think I'm in there yet, so So again, this is going to be a little challenging with the camera, but bear with me. I think I got it, hot dog. Okay, so we're snugging up, and I definitely don't want to over tighten this, but I also don't want it coming loose while I'm shooting. Don't want to lose the extractor. Okay, so the extractor's back in. All right, let's work on the big stuff next. So the next thing that's got to go back in, and again, reassembly is pretty much reversal of disassembly, breaking it down. So just to point out something very obvious is that for us, since we're working from the bottom of the receiver most of the time, everything, all the bottoms of everything are going to be facing up for us. So for like the elevator, this is actually the bottom of the elevator, but it's facing up for us, if that makes sense. So everything's reversed. So we're going to take these like salad tongs, again, work them in the way we took them out. We've got to align these tabs with the two holes on either side of our receiver. So we're going to pinch them together, drop them down in here, and try to line up these tabs as best we can. Hey, is that both of them in the first try? Wow, that's impressive even for me. Okay, so we've got our elevator in now and did it the first time. Next, we're going to take our bolt. And again, we're working upside down, so we're going to take the top of the bolt and it's going to go upside down for us, giving us the bottom of the bolt as being our top. But I'm going to go through I'm going to put the right side of the receiver up with the ejection port facing up, and I'm going to take the bolt with that little piece going away from me, and I'm simply going to insert the bolt until I get it in enough to flip it over like so. And the elevator might be jamming us up a little bit here, but that's okay. Sometimes finagling these things in are what you got to do. All right, we're in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the fore end. Got to make sure the fore end's facing up. And I'm just going to simply slide it back over the magazine as such. Before I do that, let me show you this. So we've got to get the action bars into the two slots here on either side of the magazine. So that's what you're going to see me attempt to do. I'm going to slide this over, and then once we get down to the slots, we've kind of got to push down on the action bars to get them to really line up with those slots properly. Come on, there we go. And then when it goes in, it's going to come to a stop. And that's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. So all I'm going to do is push down on those action bars again, and lo and behold, it goes all the way in, or where I want it to be. The next thing we're going to do is take our bolt carrier and put it in. And again, everything on the bottom is facing up for us since we're working through the bottom of the receiver. The trench for the bolt carrier needs to be facing up. Like Star Wars, the trench is facing up, and so we're just going to go through this opening with these slots cut out of the receiver here. Drop it right in. What do you know? Is that the first try? Wow. And the bolt now is all the way to the rear, so that tells me that that is looking good, and most importantly, the elevator came, in this case, up, but it's actually would be down. And then if you want to put your finger here on the bolt carrier, as you move the fore end forward, the elevator goes up and the bolt comes forward like it should. So we have successfully gotten the elevator, the bolt, and the bolt carrier into place. And I'm very happy that that worked out for us for sure. So the next thing we have to do is take our cartridge stop, which is going to be the one without the tab. It's over here somewhere. And it's got to go in the way it came out. And I don't claim to be a master of these, but what we've got to do is that this little hook is going to go down like this. That hook's going down, and what we're doing is we're inserting it in as best we can. Okay, just a second. Stay tuned for station identification. Okay, that is correct. Just a second. I actually told you wrong. This hook actually goes towards the chamber in, so it's actually going up since we've got the left side down on the table. It's got to go up. I apologize for that. Trying to do this from memory. So we're going to insert that there. And now we've got to do the same thing with the cartridge interceptor. And so what we've got to do is orient it in a similar fashion, but we have the tab to go in this hole, so at least we have that going for us. So I'm going to work to hopefully get that into place. Uh-oh, looks like it went right in. That's a good sign. Excellent. And so I'm going to hold it because if you remember when we were disassembling, it pretty much fell out on me. Well, maybe it'll stay for a split second. Okay. So it is back in and in its place. And so the next thing I got to do is take my trigger group and work it in pretty much the backwards of the way I took it out. So I'm just going to leave everything laying on its side to keep those pieces from falling out maybe. And I'm going to work it in at an angle and forward at the same time. And just maybe I can get this in on the first try. Although you never know what you're going to get. I don't want to force it, but at the same time, I'm not seeing. Let me bring everything forward. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Okay. I'm going to have to redo this. Hey, this is the life of working on firearms, right? It doesn't, unless you do this stuff regularly all the time, you can expect some challenges along the way, but that's okay. It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be firearms if there weren't some challenges along the way, and that's okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and bring that forward. And then I am going to have to hold that in apparently, so I might as well get ready. I'm going to try this again. Let's see if this works this time. So again, I'm going in at an angle. I'm expecting this to work out better, but I don't think I have it in the right place just yet. There we go. All right. Just a little finagling, and didn't want to cut away, have to redo that along with something else, just the realities of working on firearms, getting them back together. Unless you're a master of these things, they can be challenging at times for sure, but it's little things and we learn as we go, right? So learning moment for me. I need to break this gun down more, and it's not horrible. Next thing we're going to do is take our pin that we took out to remove the trigger housing. If I can find it, it was just here a moment ago, it was right under my nose. And we pushed it out from the right side. That's a good habit to get into. Some of these pins are, you know, same diameter all the way across. Others have a slight taper or conical shape. Usually the rule is to push out from the right side and put back in from the left. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this pin and we're going to work it through, try to work it through as best we can from the left side here. And it might need a little bit of alignment. That's okay. And again, sometimes, look at there, gonna go. It's gonna go for us. I'm pleased. Okay, so now that pin is in and even on both sides. You can feel it with your fingers that it's even. So again, these things aren't meant to be perfectly smooth every time you do them. You know, it takes some work. So now we've got everything back together inside the receiver. It's I feel pretty confident that the forearm's working. It's going to work. Now we've got to get the important part back on, and that's the barrel, obviously. So what we have to do is seat the barrel, and this is another place I meant to get a little extra lubrication, is here on the piece of the barrel that's going to be inserted into the receiver, because it's got some wear, a little too much, but that's okay. I can wipe that off. Just want to make sure we get it nice and coated. If we get too much on, nothing says we can't dab a little bit off. And so what we have to do is get the magazine lined up with the loops. And as we do that, we're getting close to needing to insert that barrel into the, if I can stop with the hitting the camera. We need to, let's see, what do I need to do here that's not happening for us? Let's go ahead and bring the fore end in, and then we'll go ahead and put those loops on the bottom of the barrel over the magazine, and then it should go right in. So that's an important note to remember, is the fore end has to be forward in order to get the barrel to line up its back piece to more easily insert into the receiver. So again, lessons as we go. And then last but not least is we need to get the barrel all the way in, which we need to bring that fore end back again. And you can see now that the barrel's seated all the way. And it's still loose, we haven't tightened it, but you can tell it's in because now we see threads out the front of this first loop here. So we can get our magazine cap back on. I'm actually going to put just a dab of lube on the face of that loop, because where the magazine caps has these teeth to help bite so it doesn't back off while shooting, and so they're wearing through that front loop. I'm going to put a little lube there. Again, look for the metal. And then we're simply going to twist our magazine cap, and those teeth bite. You don't have to over tighten it. I've really hit the camera a record number of times. I apologize for that, folks. It's hard to work behind a camera like this. Just so you know, I have my camera up on a stand that's on a tripod type of thing, and it's between me and the table that I'm working on here for you. So my head, my hands, my arms constantly hit it. Ultimately, probably need to come up with a better setup, but I appreciate your patience and me hitting my camera constantly. So with that, it looks like we've got smooth operation. Yeah, that lubrication in there and getting that thing cleaned is really nice. Everything seems to be going good. Let's see if the trigger works. Of course, it is empty. Let's see if the trigger, oh yeah, there we go. Yep, that's great. So thank you for watching me struggle through getting this 12 gauge pump back together. This Mossberg M590A1 is a super nice model, super heavy duty. It's got the heavier duty barrel on it, which I like, over the 500 models. It's got the ghost ring sights. It's got the rear sight protection on it. It also has places in the stock to hold 2 additional rounds on either side, which is convenient and nice to have. And anyway, thank you for watching this with me. If you like it, assuming that it didn't take too long and I didn't hit the camera too much, please be sure and like the video down below. Subscribe to our channel. We're constantly putting out new stuff, seeing what sticks, what folks may like to see. If you have any suggestions for us, leave them in the comments. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.